gentlemen, welcome back to chat. Scooch over a wee bit. I didn't think I was in the middle there. Am I in the middle? I don't know. I don't care. To be blunt. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome along to the first. I feel like this is the first live stream I've done in quite a while, quite a long time. I can't tell you the last time that I went live to do some sort of Q&A. I feel like it was towards the start of the World Cup, and obviously we are now at the end of the World Cup. It flew in, didn't it? It's a month that has just kind of went on by without even blinking twice. That's it, gone, away, finished. The World Cup is over, and the wee man has got the prize that he has been longing for. Yes, a third place medal for JURANOVIC. A joke, of course. I mean, what a final that was yesterday. Just very quickly touching out, there wouldn't be a football fan without acknowledging the greatness that we watched right in front of us yesterday. One of the greatest cup finals, if not the greatest cup final that I've seen in my lifetime. And certainly probably up there in the history of the entire sport, and potentially right there was probably the biggest moment in the sport's history, as Lionel Messi, the greatest of all time, finally got his hands on a World Cup trophy. He tried in 2014, and now here in 2022, reality it's happened. It's just right in front of us. We seen him lift that trophy yesterday, and it was brilliant. I mean, I was half scooshed watching it, and Christ, he needed a few drinks to get through that game. But I mean, I couldn't imagine if you were Argentinian. But what a final, and both sides put on a great show. Kylian Mbappe was unbelievable as well. But I think that Messi has just proven right there in that game that there's just no one that's ever going to be close to him. I know we talk about how things change and how, you know, we need to accept that change happens, you know what I mean? And one day someone will come along and they will challenge for the throne. And right now we might be looking at, you know, Mbappe and Haaland and players like that and saying these guys could challenge for the throne. But I genuinely do believe wholeheartedly that no one ever in the history of football, the future of football, will be better than that player, Lionel Messi. I genuinely don't think there'll be one ever that comes close to him. In future years, he's just that good. A real pleasure that we've got to grow up watching him, I suppose. But hey ho, what a World Cup final. But it means the real football can continue as normal. And of course, Celtic returned on Saturday there. We got the win at Pittodrie. We had to dig down deep. We had to leave it to the last few minutes of the game. But we walked away with the 3 points, and that is ultimately what matters most. So yes, we are back in action. We're obviously playing Wednesday night as well. We're going to talk about everything in this stream tonight. I wanted to get you guys involved. I wanted to have a conversation with you a lot because, as I said, been a while since I've done a show like this, and of course we've got the podcast back, which is great too because we have the Q&A segment at the end of that. But it's always good to have one of these real live chats because I can get guys like yourself, Cal, involved and bring up your comments and stream. I'm doing great. How you doing? Brody, Paul, Daryl, John, James, Declan, Mark, Stuart, Peter, PJ. Hello everybody so far. And thank you very much, Ian Fleming, £5 donation. Evening, Ryan. I'm glad we are back to proper football, not really into the World Cup. Listen, do you know what? I'm not as big an international tournament fan as what most are. It's always just a kind of novelty to me, and it's always kind of in the background. But this year, I feel like I did pretty, you know, I was pretty invested in it. I enjoyed it. I watched as much of it as I could, but there is no denying that the real football is the club football. The real football is having the likes of Celtic back. So I'm looking forward to having that back in action. I can't wait to be at the game on Wednesday night. Genuinely, it feels like it's been an eternity since the last time I was in Celtic Park. So I'm really looking forward to that. And we'll get everybody involved. Thank you for the donation, Ian. It means a lot. We'll get everybody involved with your questions and such as the stream goes on. We've got a couple of things to talk about first. Stuart saying your ball knowledge is severely low if you think Ronaldo is the greatest of all time. You know what? I think that it's just foolish to suggest that he is. You know, I don't get me wrong. My whole life, up until the last few years, I've always kind of preferred Ronaldo. Not me saying he's better. I always preferred him because he played for Manchester United, and obviously I like Man United, so I always kind of preferred him. I knew Messi was better, but I always preferred him. But over the last few years, just when you watch Messi, you can't not prefer him. He's just unbelievable. But anyway, let's get into this. Let's talk about everything we have to talk about, and then we'll get your guys' comments. We've got over 100 viewers at this moment in time. Thank everybody. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's talk about Josip Juranovic. I mentioned his name. I name dropped him at the beginning of the stream. He will be back with Celtic very soon, you'd imagine. Third place finish in the World Cup for him in Croatia. Fantastic achievement. I was going to say perhaps maybe the furthest a Celt has ever gone in the World Cup, but it's not, because if you cast your mind back to 2010, a certain Braafheid made it all the way to the final with the Holland team, and he was a Celtic player at that time. So, yeah, Josip Juranovic getting pretty far in the tournament, probably further than what most people expected Juranovic and Croatia to get this year. Just showed how good a team they are, but he has put in a massive name for himself throughout this tournament. There was a graphic today, and I'm actually going to try and find this if I can, but there was a graphic today that emerged. It's not the official team of the tournament, but it's one that is based on ratings at the tournament, one based on how people, played and how they were rated. Here we go. I've got it on screen now. I'm going to quickly open it up full screen for you, because this was unbelievable. But we're talking about Juranovic making a name for himself at this tournament. Well, feast your eyes on this for a moment. Here is the World Cup 2022 SOFA score team of the tournament, which was based off of player ratings throughout the entire tournament. And look who's at right back there. Josip Juranovic. He made his way in, joined by countryman Dominic Livakovic. Some team, great company to be in, bar maybe Harry Maguire. A fantastic achievement for Juranovic. Now, I don't know if he'll make the official team of the tournament. If I was to be honest, I think that the likes of Akraf Hakimi maybe deserves to be in over Juranovic. But he had a marvellous tournament, a really good tournament, Josip Juranovic. And he was always going to be on the radar of clubs throughout this World Cup. We knew that. We were kind of anticipating the departure of Josip Juranovic in the January window. But this World Cup is just going to raise the interest levels in him. And when he does return to Celtic in the coming days or weeks and gets back into the swing of things, I don't think that he'll be there for much longer. I think we all know the reason we've signed Alistair Johnson. We all anticipate this to happen. But surely it's only a matter of time before the move goes through. The question is, where is the move? Who is he going to go to? What's going to happen? Now, today it was reported by Sky Sports journalist Dharmesh Sheaf, maybe? Not sure on the pronunciation. My apologies, Dharmesh. And I'll quote it word for word. Barcelona interested in signing Celtic right back Josip Juranovic. Two unnamed Premier League clubs also keen, and Atletico Madrid. Juranovic impressed for Croatia at the World Cup, played every minute, bar, of course, the game that he missed out injured in the third and fourth place playoff. And obviously we've signed Alistair Johnson. It was with Anthony Joseph as well of Sky Sports. So it looks as though there's going to be nothing we can do to keep Josip Juranovic at Celtic. And to be honest, would it be smart? Would it be smart to try and keep Josip Juranovic beyond this window? I think the time is probably now to capitalise on that potential big money move. And the good thing is, with the interest of Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, and unnamed Premier League clubs, who could be anybody, by the way, because we've heard in the summer window that Chelsea were interested. We heard in the summer window that also Manchester United were interested. I also heard murmurs of the likes of West Ham looking into him as well. So you're talking clubs with big money to spend. Are we going to see an all-out bidding war here for Josip Juranovic? Because that's where it could get tasty for Celtic. I was thinking to myself, back at the start of the World Cup, when the interest wasn't as severe and we didn't hear all these names being thrown out, I was thinking to myself, right, he's a right back, he's 27 years old, I'll be kind of grateful if we could maybe get £15 million for him. I think that was the fee in my head that I thought was realistic. But now, if we've got a bidding war that could potentially go underway, if we've got clubs battling it for the signature of Josip Juranovic, how high can this fee go? Where do these clubs draw the line? How desperate are they wanting Josip Juranovic? I think Celtic could be in for bigger money here. You know, I think you could maybe see a fee getting close to £20 million. Some might be ambitious. I'm seeing Kaiser, for example, 38 million. John James saying 25 to 35 million. Where does this limit go now? Because there is interest, significant interest from big clubs. And I think that could make for a very interesting story here, and a very interesting fee to come Celtic's way. Obviously, there will be a line where these teams will go, okay, we're not paying that for a 27-year-old right back. But I wonder how close we can get to that line and where it goes. Who's really wanting the signature? How far are they willing to go? That is going to be interesting to see. Barcelona, I was thinking to myself, I'm seeing a lot of comments in the live chat just now talking about Barcelona. Can they actually afford that? Is the money there for Barcelona? Yes, they can afford that. Trust me, they can. But I was thinking, we were talking about this in our group chat earlier, with Barcelona. I wonder how the payments would go through, because it certainly doesn't strike me as a club right now who are willing to give us, £20 million, just for talking's sake. £20 million up front. I think that would be a typical FM type deal. Would be seeing instalment after instalment. Is it in the club's best interest to maybe try and get them to go to one of these unnamed Premier League sides, Atletico Madrid, for example? Barcelona can certainly afford that. There's no denying that. I mean, I know that their financial troubles have been well documented over the past few years, but you know what it is. It's Barcelona. Through loopholes and through by hook or by crook, they will make it through and make whatever signing they want. They showed that in the summer window just there. Look at the amount of signings that they made and the amount of wages that they're paying out, not just for the likes of Robert Lewandowski, but all the other players who have signed to Barcelona. And I know they've had registration issues as well. I don't know how realistic it is that Juranovic goes to Barcelona. We'll have to wait and see. I brought this up last week when we first talked about the Barcelona links, that it's the first time in my life, and probably one of the only times in our life, that we will see a Celtic player move to Barcelona. Don't even bring up Henrik Larsson. We're not counting Henrik Larsson. His contract expired. He moved on to Barcelona. He was one of the best strikers in the world, right? It's a different story with Henrik Larsson. But just in a general club-to-club transfer where we actually receive a fee, how many times are we ever going to see a Celtic player get a move as big as that if this goes through, if he goes to Barcelona? It's crazy. And I seen somebody bring this up in the chat as well. Do you know what's even madder about it? The fact that he's not even had that great a season. He was fantastic in the 21-22 campaign. Unbelievable. And one of our best players. And he's had a fantastic World Cup, which has obviously just reminded us all how good a player he actually is. But the fact he's not even had that great a campaign, and he's potentially off to Barcelona. That is unbelievable. Congratulations to him. Honestly, I've said this time and time again. I'll wish him off with open arms. Open arms? That's as if I'd be wishing him in. I will applaud him as he departs. He's a cracking player. He's been a good servant. He's done his business, and he gave a right good representation of us at the World Cup, I'd say, and the quality of player we have. Because Juranovic is one of these players that, he hasn't had the greatest season thus far, but one thing he is a quality player. And the people who denied that just because he's not had a great start to this season, clueless. Because he's a fantastic player. And that the proof was in the pudding over this past month at the World Cup. People were trying to say he was rotten. No disrespect to Tony Ralston, but some claiming that Ralston's better. There's a reason. There's a reason some footballers get moves like this. He's a fantastic player, and he deserves every bit of it if it does go through. So I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited for the potential payday that comes with this at Celtic. It's just one of these ones that is the beginning of this new era. I see, for example, Cal bringing up. I'm bringing up players quality wise. I don't think Jota will hit the heights of Barcelona right after he leaves Celtic. But this is the era of players getting these moves. This is going to become the norm, I hope. I hope we sign players, we develop players to become good enough to go to these teams and get us big transfer fees. I want to keep them as long as I can, obviously, but Ange spoke about it at the AGM. He spoke about how obviously we're going to have to be prepared for this, and it's sad to see them go. They are favourites, but it's the evolution of football. It's the evolution of the club, and we need to be willing to accept that. And this is kind of the first example of it as Ange Postecoglou becomes manager of the club. We've not seen any big departures yet. The players that have left have been ones that we expected to leave, ones that had to leave. We've not really had one of our favourites go yet. Rogic, I guess, kind of with the contract expiry, he was getting on a little bit, but we've had none of these. We've not had a Kyos go yet, a Jota yet, a Hatate. Any of these guys leave. Juranovic is the first of the Ange Postecoglou era, really. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I mean, one thing I've seen a lot of people bring it up as well is keep him for the 2nd of January. Yes, I think that we can all say one thing. It's probably almost, I don't like jinx anything, touch wood, it's almost a certainty that he'll be here for the 2nd of January. I don't imagine, unless a deal gets completed in the next week or so, and unless somehow we see him leave on a type of deal that Celtic have signed players on before the window begins, I think he'll still be here on the 2nd. He'll leave sometime during January. It'd be good for him to have maybe one last kind of derby run out And obviously very important for that derby game. He is our best right back. He's our best full back, arguably, as well. And after that World Cup, to have a player of his quality is good. And we're in a lucky position. We're in a great position where we've got Johnson, who'll be registered for the 1st of January onwards. We've got Tony Ralston, who's been fantastic this season as well. We're not exactly in a bad place should Juranovic leave before that game on the 2nd of January. However, I'd be very confident in saying that he will be here for that game. And hopefully he'll play in that game. And I hope we get to see him a couple of more times at Celtic Park as well before he does move on. But when you've got the likes of Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, big Premier League clubs looking at you, there's no denying that he will be off in this January window. We've all known it this entire time, this entire World Cup. But it looks as though that the time is quickly approaching. But yeah, how much money can we get for Juranovic? Yeah? How much money can we find for him? Probably quite a decent fee, hopefully reinvested quite well. It'll be an interesting January window. Of course, we've already made 2 signings. I think that there's talk that Stephen Welsh could maybe leave the club as well, so maybe there's a fee to come in there, whether it be a loan move or not, we'll have to wait and see. But, you know, there will be a kind of turnaround of some players in this shorter window. And then obviously we move on to summer and we see where we improve after that as well. Very exciting. So we'll just have to wait and see. Right. I don't think there's much else for me to talk about that is a major story. Of course, we'll have the Livingston match preview tomorrow. Cal McGregor being back, huge, brilliant. But let me just turn the attention to you guys. Let's get your questions in and make the rest of this stream about you, about Celtic, of course. But get your questions in. We'll have a talk. As I said, don't think there is too much else to speak about. How we all feeling ahead of Livingston, I suppose. We'll have the full preview tomorrow. But yeah, let's get your thoughts, your questions for the last sort of 10-15 minutes in this stream. I think that would be a good way to go. That's Big Mooney. Hello, if he gets a massive move, then it'll be great for us the next few seasons. New signings would want to come to Celtic to potentially emulate Jura's kind of career progression, potentially. Absolutely. I think that's a very key point in all of this. The fact that, that's what I was saying about the representation he's given us at the World Cup. The fact that Celtic are in a position now where players can move to us, play at the European stage, the biggest European stage of the Champions League, to then get picked to play at tournaments such as the World Cup, and also move to get moves like Juranovic made in a move like Barcelona. That's huge. That's a great example to set for any player who potentially joins Celtic in the next few years. It's fantastic. And it really does. You know, we don't need to obviously compare ourselves to the other club that much, but when you're in that position, and Rangers are obviously not in that position, it's great, because it's another reason for players to come to us, another reason for the best to come to us, you know, and it really kind of keeps that sort of separation and quality that we see at this moment in time, and I hope that continues. But nice to see you, Big Money. Lovely. Love that. Great point, actually. Right, let's get some. Plot twist. Juranovic is staying in Barcelona, preparing a £20 million bid for Ralston. If only, yeah? If only. Do you know what? Ralston's been fantastic this season. I think that he does deserve a fair crack at it when Juranovic does go, but obviously I think Johnston will maybe take priority. We've got to see Johnston first. That's the priority, I think. Let's see, what else? Let's go. Let's get some of your questions. Dembele return, a small possibility. His wages is definitely the main sticking point. I don't see Dembele returning to Celtic as much as I'd love it. I mean, the guy's shirt's behind me. He's my favourite Celtic player of probably my lifetime. It's up there anyway, along with maybe Boric, Brown, a couple other guys. Dembele's certainly up there, and I would love to watch him in a Celtic shirt again. I would do anything to have him back, but yeah, I think the wages would be too much. I think that he will attract some genuine interest from big clubs as well. I think that the Premier League could be a move for him. I know it's not really went well for him the last few months at Lyon, but I think that's been mostly down to this contractual situation as well. Listen, if he ever wanted a return to Celtic, I'm sure that they could try and work a way in, and I think he would be a fantastic striker to have at the club, but I don't know. I wouldn't ever get excited about him coming back, because I just don't think, I think it's a step too far. I mean, there is always the smallest of possibilities, you're right, Greg, but I'd be surprised. Do you think that Juranovic has been underwhelmed by the level of the Scottish League? No, I wouldn't say that. No, absolutely not, because you think about it, he's moved to us from the Polish top division, and the Scottish Premiership is a better standard and it's better than the Polish division. You know, he ultimately took that step up. And one thing that is very easy to do when you're a Celtic fan is forget about the fact that football is a stepping stone game. And ultimately, everybody's aim, if you're not a Celtic fan growing up, and even for, we seen with Kieran Tierney, the ultimate aim is to be at the best, the highest level you can. And Celtic's a stepping stone to that highest level. We might not like it, but it's the harsh reality. And to go from Poland to Scotland, I'm sure he's noticed the step up in forgot the word now, I'm looking for quality. And that's ultimately what's got him into that. Croatia, look, if he was still at Legia Warsaw and he was still playing there week in, week out, would he be starting games for Croatia at the World Cup? I'm willing to put a bet on no. So I don't think he's been underwhelmed. I think he'll look back at this time at Celtic as being one of the most helpful periods of his career. And without this move to Celtic, he will maybe not have been playing in third place playoff games at the World Cup. So I think he'll always be grateful. And I think if you spoke to him, I think he'd make that very clear as well. Where was I for the last one? Thought I'd do a stream to react to a World Cup game. Do you know what? I was thinking about it from a couple of games and stuff, but I don't know. I just kind of enjoyed chilling. I kind of treated the last month as like kind of a month off. You'll have noticed, obviously, I didn't upload as often because there wasn't as much to talk about, but I never really put myself under the pressure to make videos of the last month. Now I've put the pressure's back on. I want to make videos again, but I thought, you know, I'll kind of chill for I wanted to enjoy it, and you know what, I think this year I've worked incredibly hard on the channel, so I thought I kind of deserved it. I don't know, I enjoyed it. I could have streamed and stuff, but I done what I had to do. How many layers are we wearing on Wednesday? You're going for 4, Cal. Christ, I don't think I'll be a kick in the arse off 4. I'll definitely have a hat on, definitely have gloves on, definitely have a scarf on, probably have a t-shirt, jumper, jacket. I'll probably go for the 3 layers, I think. But, you know, maybe 4. We'll see. It's actually, it might sound insane to some of you, but I don't think it's been as cold the last couple of days. I think we've got a wee bit, gradually a little bit warmer, which is promising heading into a Wednesday night game in December. But I'm not taking any chances of sitting in the breeze bowl that is Celtic Park tomorrow night in the cold. If Juranovic leaves for 20 million to 25 million, do you think we could afford Dembele? Well, yeah, we could. But do I think we'd do it? Nah, listen, I love Dembele as much as the next guy. We all, if you've been on this channel for the longest time since I started it, you will know that Dembele's basically my god. There's the reason that top will forever be in the background of Ryan 118 videos. But I just don't think that there's... We need to see what Ange wants. First of all, Ange might not want Dembele. You know, it might not be the guy he wants. But I don't think we need to always kind of look back. We should always look forward. I don't know. I would take him back in a heartbeat. But I don't think it'll ever happen, to be honest. I mean, Bailey's talking. He's looking for something like 77 grand a week. I think that's like similar to his wage just now, isn't it? It's just never going to happen. Celtic wouldn't, even if they had the money, they wouldn't pay it. It's not a sustainable wage for Celtic. It's one that they would want to try and shift very quickly, I think. And that's another thing. You would always have to worry about expectation. Imagine he came back and he didn't live up to the same expectation he once did. I don't want to tarnish what we had. I want to remember him for what he was, but once again, I'd take him back in a heartbeat. Do you think it was down to a few rusty legs or because there was 11 men behind the ball, presumably about the result at the weekend against Aberdeen? I think a bit of both. It was always going to be a little bit rusty coming back from a month off of competitive football. Obviously, Aberdeen played very negatively. It was always going to be a difficult game. One Celtic player you thought was a good player but gets lots of unfair stick. Ever? That's a good question, Ben. I like that. That is a good question. And I actually can't think of who I would say. One player that I thought was good but got too much stick. I feel like I've always been kind of fair and level-headed in my own opinions of players. I think that there's players that I didn't find as good as what some thought. So, for example, to flip this question the other way about a guy like Stefan Johansson. I was never big on Johansson. I never really bought into the hype, and when he left, I wasn't that bothered. For example, I know that'll make ruffle a few favours, but he was always that kind of guy for me. But on the other way, I can't think of many. I can't think of many that I like. I'm seeing a lot of people getting their answers in. Steve Guppy, Bratback, Beaton. That's a good answer. And Cham, I suppose. And Cham, I could understand the frustrations at times, to be fair. Do you know what? I'm going to answer this question quite honestly. And I'm going to go back to one player I thought was a good player, got a lot of unfair stick. I think there's an easy answer. I'm going to go Odsonne Edouard. Because Odsonne Edouard was unbelievably good for Celtic. Brilliant. One of the best strikers we've had. And, you know, if he had a game where he didn't score a goal, he was suddenly, you know, he was useless. He wasn't trying. He wasn't good enough. We had to get rid of him. I think Edouard kind of sums up that sort of statement. Brilliant player. And another guy like Dembele that I would love to see back. I'd take him back in a heartbeat, but I just don't think it would ever happen. Let's see. A good message from Daniel there, by the way. Absolutely. Yes. Take care of your elderly during this winter period. Absolutely. Do you think we should start looking at heart replacements soon? I think that behind the scenes that'll be underway. I think that we need to plan for the future. Joe Hart's only got a couple of years left, and maybe a year or two. I would love us to sign Livakovic if possible, but a tournament like that will get him a big move. He'll end up in a Premier League side. Good question. So Declan and Jordan, in response to that question, says, "Don't think that Siegrist is the man to succeed Joe." I don't think so either. I like Siegrist, don't get me wrong, no disrespect to Benji. And I would like to see him get more chances, but I don't think he's the successor to the number one shot. I don't think so, to be quite honest. I think that we need to invest, and that will definitely happen. Seen a lot of people's answers. Could you argue Samaras? Yeah, I guess you could in terms of that. In terms of that question, you know, players that probably deserved or didn't deserve the stick they got at times. I love Samaras, one of my absolute favourites, and he got a lot of stick. But once again, I think his was one of those ones, like in Cham, that it was understandable at times, because there was games where you'd watch Samaras and you'd be like, oh my, because he was the epitome of a player who could be the worst in the team or the best in the team whenever he decided to be. But I loved him with all my heart. Yeah. Sammy did get that treatment though. I would agree. I think that it was more understanding for Samaras than it was Edward, but Samaras certainly didn't deserve it. I loved him. I absolutely loved him. Yeah, this is one I'll never. Ben, I can see your point, but I'll never buy any. I fucking hated Biata. He was like another Johansson to me. Like I was just like, I don't care. I don't rate him that much. Move him on if we need to. This is one thing. There was a couple of bizarre. I want to bring this up. Do you think that Kyogo's sophomore slump is due to D's adjusting to him, or is it all? Is that slang for defenders? Is D's defenders? I hope so. Or is it Dicks adjusting to him, or is it all just his confidence? Cheers. Yeah, well, you're from New Jersey, USA, right? So D's right. Nice. I love it. Let's start talking more dubs and D's. Yes, I love it. Thank you for watching from all the way in America, by the way, Jeremy. But no, do you know what? I think that Kyogo's rough patch, as people are calling it, rough patch, is nothing to be overly concerned about, and he's getting a hell of a lot more criticism than he deserves. But it's one that I think he'll put to bed very soon. I think that most of it's down to confidence. I think there will be an element of defenders adjusting, and obviously they've played against him now for a little while. I think there will be an element of that involved, but I think it's down to confidence. I think that these big chances that he's missed all season have probably taken quite a bit away from him in that sense, and he just needs to find the net and bury a couple of these chances. And listen, Kyogo is unbelievable, and he's a player who so many times has been compared to Henrik Larsson, but then when he has an off game or an off patch, he's suddenly not good enough. Fans are so reactionary, and I think we should just appreciate the player he is, because he's a fantastic player and we all love him. Just, you know, I think that he'll come round. But thank you, I appreciate the question, Jeremy, I really do. Do you enjoy watching Gary Neville winding up all the Middle England Tories today? Who do you want Ten Hag to get in January, says Ian? I love Gary Neville. I do love him. I know he was getting a lot of the hypocrisy points for going over to Qatar, but I love Gary Neville. And who do I want United to get in January? Yakpo looks like the priority, doesn't he? Cody Yakpo would probably be the one that I'd want to see go the most as well. Remember Paul Telfer? Christ, I do remember Paul Telfer. There's a name. He was right before Hinkle came into the team, wasn't he? If I remember rightly. I was back when I just started getting into football, really. I just fear if we win the league again, we'll have the same scoring problems in the Champions League next year. Peter, I think that will be addressed. I really do. I think we'll sign someone. I think we'll go and try and get a striker. And obviously, just because we sign a striker doesn't mean that problem's automatically solved. It comes with trying and testing it and making sure we actually, you know, can score goals. You know, it's not just a signing that does that, but I think they will look to address that, especially if Giacomakis leaves. If Giacomakis moves on and he goes from Celtic, we're going to have to sign a striker. And yeah, bad games every now and then. Once he scores one or two, I'll be him, absolutely. Big Money saying, any thoughts on Mido through the middle? Well, obviously played through the middle for Japan at the World Cup. And I think that, to be honest, judging off his time in Japan, he probably favours being played through the middle. However, I don't know if it'll ever happen for him at Celtic, just because we have Kyogo and Giacomakis. I think we'd need a kind of injury crisis for that to kind of happen. I think Ange is always going to have him on the left. And you know, Mido's one that creates an awful kind of separation in opinion. But I don't know what it's going to take for him to have everybody singing from the same hymn sheet. Would it be playing through the middle? I'd maybe like to see that opportunity for him one day, but I think with the chances that he's maybe missed in a Celtic shot, I don't think that the fans would take to that so kindly. I don't know if fans would be willing to go for it. It's one of those ones. We'd just have to wait and see if it ever actually happened. Let's see what else. Do I think the Cho dream is gone? Maybe. No, but it's been very quiet on the Western Front, hasn't it? Let's see. I can see Kyos scoring a hat-trick against someone later this season and he'll be God again. He doesn't deserve the stick. Absolutely. I mean, if he scores against Rangers in the second, it'll be the best thing for sliced bread. That's that's the reality of it. So, I mean, I hope he does score in the second. I really do. Was looking at anyone to replace Gio if... Oh, you talk... we were talking about Van Bronckhorst. I was like... Does he know? I was like, you're a bit behind, fella. I'm assuming you mean Giacomakis. I think the main one would be Cho, the South Korean lad. I think that's who the ideal one seems like, but we just have to wait and see. I would love Giacomakis to get another run in the team though. But aye, 32 minutes, over 200 viewers. Thank you for the support. I'm going to wrap it up there this evening because I don't want to leave it too long for those who might have missed the stream and want to go back and watch it, because I know watching a longer video can be very testing on one's patience. So I'm going to leave it off there tonight. I've enjoyed all your questions. We'll be back tomorrow on the channel with our preview and any other news for the Livingston game. We're back on Wednesday night with our reaction to the game, of course. Then we've got a podcast being filmed on Thursday, which will be up either Thursday or Friday, probably Friday. And then obviously we've got a game on Saturday, again, Christmas Eve, which I may as well just say just now, for those, and FM, I'll get FM back. I'm seeing everybody talk about FM. We will finish the season, don't worry, we will get that finished. I may as well tell you now before I forget, and I don't tell you, there won't be a match reaction to the game on Saturday. It is Christmas Eve, and typically, as people do at Christmas time, they make plans. So I am busy on Christmas Eve, and I will not have time to get back here, record a video, and then go out to continue my plans. I'll be out, I'll be pissed, and I'm sure all of you will be as well. I'm sure you have better things to do than listen to Ryan118 review the Christmas Eve game. So I'm sure you'll all survive without me. But there we go. That'll do us for today. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Hope you have all enjoyed. Enjoy your evening. I'll see you tomorrow. And hail, hail. Take care. Oh, wait, I'm doing the wrong... How did I end my stream? I was about to do it the wrong way. There we go. Cheerio, man. Bye.